thank you for being here. This is our first press conference. We've promised weekly press conferences. As long as I can keep it up, I'll do it. So anyway, but the reason for being here today is I want to announce my staff. I'm very proud of the staff we put together, and so I'm going to introduce them. My executive assistant is Dorothy Adjavu. Dorothy is a senior at the University of Arizona studying political science and English. She came here from Ghana, Africa. She moved here when she was 9 years old. She is very bright, and she got a little political experience by being the campaign manager for City Council member Regina Romero, and she's a board member of Los Adelitas, Arizona, which works to increase political involvement with Latinas here in southern Arizona. My communications director is Lisa Marcola. Lisa worked in the film and video industry in New York before moving to Tucson in 1987. She's worked in a variety of roles that demand good communication skills in legal, technical, policy, and political arenas. Lisa has worked both as a litigation paralegal and law office manager. She's done policy research for the Arizona Department of Transportation. She has served in executive director positions in nonprofit organizations related to animal and environmental protection. And she has past political experience as a former executive director of the Pima County Democratic Party, and she served as my campaign manager. And we will get to each of you these bios if you need them. Lisa has a BA from Yale University, an MBA from the University of Arizona, graduating from McGuire Entrepreneurship Program. She grew up in a small town near Canada, and she loves to ski. So it's our business advocate, and the first thing I said I was going to do in our 180-day plan, so we got that checked off, is hire a business advocate. Our business advocate is Maricela Solis. Maricela has lived in Tucson for 29 years. She's worked in the private nonprofit sector for all of her career. She began her career in healthcare, working to help underserved areas and helping to develop federal healthcare policy. Following her work in the healthcare community, she became president and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and there she worked on a number of issues directly related to the local business community. She knows from that experience the local business community very well. Shortly after leaving the Hispanic Chamber, Ms. Solis worked on several political campaigns, and she also owned her own small business where she helped businesses translate materials from English to Spanish. In 2009, she was invited by the Mexican Consulate's office to participate as a member of the Instituto de los Mexicanos en el Exterior. She was one of 35 women from across the U.S. and Canada to participate. She's a graduate of the University of Arizona, married and has one child, and she enjoys running and yoga, and has completed several half and full marathons, so she can run with me. My community outreach director is Jessica Schultz. Jessica's a native of Santa Fe, New Mexico. She basically came home to the Southwest in 2010. She's a graduate of Claremont McKenna College, has worked on numerous political campaigns and in state government. In 2006, Jessica was the director of outreach for Eliot Spitzer's campaign for governor of New York. Following that successful campaign, she moved to Albany to work in the executive chamber. She's worked on a number of issues, including campaign finance reform. She eventually became senior manager for government and community relations at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, where she collaborated with local, state, and federal officials on numerous agency initiatives, including the rebuilding of the World Trade Center. After earning her master's in comparative politics from the London School of Economics, she moved to Tucson, where she began work on Congressman Gabrielle Gifford's re-election campaign. Most recently, she has served as Congresswoman Gifford's political director. Jessica lives in Tucson with her fiance, Andrew, who's a law student at the University of Arizona. And I think you all know, hopefully, Andrew Greenhill, who served previously as Mayor Walkup's chief of staff. He has agreed to stay on in a transition role to begin with, as my chief of staff. He's been invaluable in, well, first of all, telling me what I couldn't do, and secondly, telling me where to find the paper clips on the 4th floor and things like that save a lot of time and effort. Of course, being a bit facetious, but Andrew's been a great help. So if you have questions for any of our staff, I'm happy to turn it over to them. And if you want to then take a little bit of time with me, I'm happy to do that. But today I really wanted to, this is our first full day together. So on Monday, we're gonna meet on, I don't know this yet, Sunday afternoon. And we're also gonna meet on Monday at 8 in the morning and really kind of try to figure out how to make it work. We've been, so far I've been running, it's like drinking from a fire hose. More than a few people have told me that, but I'm hoping now that I have this great staff on board that I can at least get some time to swallow some of that water. So, okay, that's it for me. Go ahead, guys.
Before we get to them, I do have a couple of things I want to ask you about. And the first one was you met with the folks from Occupy Tucson this week. How did that meeting go? What did you decide, and what's in the future?
The meeting went well. The goal is to get the occupiers to perform in a lawful way, and also that we ensure the safety of both those involved and those in the surrounding areas. I've spoken with also their legal counsel. Mike Rankin has spoken with their legal counsel. There's negotiations underway to reach resolution. And meanwhile, we'll continue to enforce the law insofar as you're being cited if you're in the park after 10:30. You're being arrested if you stay there if you get more than 3 citations.
In your opinion, would it be fine if they stayed there during the day and left during the night?
That's been my opinion, and I expressed that to them. That there's certainly the right to assemble freely, but we're going to have to take care of that after 10:30 situation, and they've been good with it for the most part. So we're working out as best we can what the next step will be for them.
We had also talked about Rio Nuevo before this thing, before your election. Now there's mediation is scheduled to start next week. There's a $47 million claim against the city. There's a TCC that needs to be repaired very badly. Where do you stand on mediation, and what steps does Rio Nuevo have to take in order to bridge the gap with the city?
Well, we're going to start the mediation on the 14th. There will be position statements which have not been submitted yet, and we will not see all of Rio Nuevo's position statement before we get to the mediation or find out what their position is. I will participate on the mediation on the 14th, at least as an observer, and throwing in my 2 cents where I can. You know, obviously it's a little different in the way of mediation because nobody can really resolve without going back to their board and getting approval. There was a term sheet that was given by the city a year ago that we thought we had an agreement on. Whether that will be the starting point from the mediator or whether the Rio Nuevo folks will come in with a whole different approach, we don't know. What we do believe here at the city, and what I believe, is that the citizens of this city want to see those disputes resolved. They don't want to see their taxpayer money spent on attorneys on both sides, accountants on both sides, and really the use of city employee time on that. So we're going to work for resolution, but it has to be a resolution that's fair to the taxpayers of the city of Tucson and honors the spirit of what the original Rio Nuevo propositions were about.
What's the next step in the city manager search at this point?
We're going to agendize that for study session on, I don't want to get it wrong, and it is for Tuesday. We're gonna have it, and there is really just going to be the discussion of what's the scope of this search, where do we go, how much do we spend, and we're supposed to have some information from Human Resources before Tuesday to give us some alternatives. Okay.
I'd like to talk to Maricela, if I might. for a
Sure,
moment.
and you guys break it up if you want, take it however you want. I'm gonna go back to work. All right, you guys okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Maricela, obviously, the
They
business
did vote to
atmosphere
pursue it.
in Tucson, at least the perception is that Tucson is not a very business-friendly community. You've been here for a while, you've heard that, you know that. What is your first step, or what steps might you take in order to change that perception?
Twofold. First, I am learning about the study that the city manager has conducted with his staff, and they've gone out to the business community and have met with business leaders to figure out common themes. And they've done a nice in-depth study with folks in the business community. So before I go out and duplicate those efforts, my first task is to meet with them and to really get up to speed on what their findings have been and sort of what plan they have. The positive outcome of having done that ahead of me arriving is that they've done a lot of legwork for me, so I sincerely appreciate their effort. And the positive, and again, another positive thing is that I'll be able to coordinate with them, because from a policy standpoint, from the mayor's office, I want to make sure that we are coordinating internally and externally with what we're hearing out in the community, and we want to keep that line of communication open.
Would you agree that the reputation of Tucson is that it's, at least here on the 10th floor, that it's not all that business friendly?
That is the number one common theme that the business community has continuously said about the city of Tucson. And so, having come from the outside, my hope is that I can shed some light on some good stuff that's happening within the city. A lot of times with an organization that is so large, it's tough to get out to the community. What the changes that have been made that are positive and that are good for business, we just haven't gotten that communication back out to the business community. So my hope is that I'll be that conduit, and then I can help be a catalyst for some of that communication and change some of the perceptions. And where there is change that needs to happen, then that's the point where we come together and we have an open and honest dialogue, and we, again, come to some kind of resolution that we can all live with.
What kind of policy might we be looking at, or policy changes, or what, in your opinion, might be some of the policy changes that would be necessary for the city of Tucson in order to move that forward?
Well, my style is form follows function. And so I have to take a good look at that study that was conducted by the city manager, and then together with additional input from some of the small business commissions and some other leaders in the community, is really come to that agreement and consensus of what are perhaps the top 3, top 5 issues that we need to look at, and then we'll talk about policy change and what does that mean, because there is, within any government, the whole idea of changing policy is, first we have to make sure we understand what the current policies are, what the process is to change those policies, and how are we going to move going forward, and what will it look like, so that we don't arbitrarily change a policy with good intentions and then we've got a whole other set of issues as the policy begins to become an implementation issue.
Philosophically, are you a downtown revitalization kind of person, or outside the city core? What's most important to you?
Well, those of my colleagues that have known me for a while know that I've worked in the downtown area for a while now. I think I've been here now for 4 or 5 years, and I've seen a lot of really great changes in the downtown area. So I personally would love to see a great downtown that has a nail salon, for example, or a quick mart, for example, or there are just some things that we don't see in the downtown area that we see in other parts of the city that are easily accessible. So I am positive about downtown. I think that we need a revitalized downtown. There's a lot of really great things that are happening. I personally spend a lot of time down here, both on my professional time and on my personal time. And so I would love to see the city center be a revitalized area, and then that will naturally be a catalyst for the other parts of the community, of the city.
Your opinion about the university students who will now be popping up in the downtown area, how do they fit into what you see as a revitalized downtown?
Sure. Well, I'm a Wildcat, and so I welcome all Wildcats down in the downtown area. I think it's great. They bring a different synergy, they bring a different opinion, and they bring different needs. And so that is part of what makes a great city, is having those, generational differences in a concentrated area, so that then you can say, you know what, we've really made a difference, because we've got people, from all generations sharing a space in our common city. And so I'm excited. I say welcome Wildcats, and you know, we can't wait to see you.
And the streetcar.
It's a great way to get here.
Are you amongst the opinion that along the streetcar line, we will see great commercial development?
I think, you know, anywhere where there's transportation that provides access to businesses, I think that's sort of the natural catalyst that occurs. So whether it's a streetcar, whether it's a walkway or a bike path, or just streets that are, you know, a wider street area, I think it naturally helps businesses because people now can get there and they learn what is in those areas, and that's how you find your favorite coffee shop. That's how you find your favorite restaurant. That's how you find your favorite place to buy your boots. And so, you know, so there's just, I think it goes hand in hand. And so I think sometimes we get caught up on what kind of transportation, and I will leave that to the professionals and the engineers that, you know, that went to school to figure all that piece out. But from a business perspective, I say give me access. I need to be able to see what's down there and then see what entrepreneurs dream up so that I can then participate as a consumer.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else? If you want to sit around, talk to us separately, we're happy to do so. But thanks for coming. I'm looking at my calendar for next week. Why don't we shoot for Friday at 9? I got an 8:15 and a 10, but Friday at 9:15. Let's do it again.
Great.
Okay.